We'll title this paper Semester 1 Review. Semester 1 Review. Let's start off by reviewing fractions. So that's 12 times 3/4. Now you could multiply straight across, or you could also reduce, cancel this way, right? And this is like having a 1 under it. And you can see that 12 goes into 4. I'm sorry, 4 goes into 12 once. 4 goes in there once, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. Now you go straight across. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. So the answer is just 9. Number 2 is 12. Now this time it's divided by 3/4. So before we multiplied, now we're dividing. If you remember, the trick with dividing is that you make it a multiply problem. So we're going to rewrite this as 12 times the reciprocal. We multiply by the reciprocal. So this is going to be 4 over 3. Excuse me. See that? Division, you always multiply by the reciprocal. In other words, freeze, change, flip, if you want to remember that way. All right, and now we can reduce from here. And if you want to think of it, you have a 1 underneath there if you want to think of it that way. Notice that you could multiply straight across and then divide, or you can divide now. Because 3 goes into 12. 3 goes into 12 4 times. And 4 times 4 is 16. 1 times 1 is 1. The answer is 16. Now, if you were to enter this in with a calculator, if you do 12 divided by 3/4, you're going to get some wacky number. But if you multiply by the reciprocal and use a calculator, then you can simply just enter in 12 times 4 divided by 3. Okay, and that will give you your answer of 16. That's using a calculator. "12 times 4 divided by 3 equals 16. But if you do this way, 12 divided by 3, it's going to end up some weird number. Okay, here's number 3. And you'll probably want to use a calculator with this. You don't have to, but you may want to. Here's how you do it without a calculator. 1.25 is 1 1/4. So I'll write it right here. 1 1/4. Right? 1.25 is 1 1/4. And then I multiply by the reciprocal. Notice that you're going to have to do the times plus here. Make it improper. So that means it's going to be 4 times 1 plus 1. That makes it 5. Times 4 over 1. So what can you reduce? Look, you can reduce this if you want to. Or you could say 20 divided by 4. Either way, it's your choice. But I'm going to go ahead and reduce this. 4 goes in there once, 4 goes in there once. Now I go across. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. The answer is 5. All right. Now you could have done this in a calculator also. And here's how that works out. In a calculator, you would enter in 1.25. Now, don't do divide. Remember, make it multiply. Times 4 over 1, the reciprocal. And that will give you 5. So see, you always need to change this to multiply. I'd like to prove this to you. If I take 1.25 divided by 1/4, that's 1 divided by 4. 1 divided by 4. And notice the answer is 3.3125. Some bizarre number. Don't need it. Now let's go ahead and do it the way I asked you to do it. And that is, go ahead and change it to multiply by the reciprocal. So if I do this method instead, 1.25 times 4 over 1 times 4 divided by 1, notice you get the answer 5. So you always need to multiply by the reciprocal, even if you use it in a calculator. Okay, I wrote way too large. I'm gonna go to the top of my paper. The next topic is proportions. Port ions. Port ions. Proportions. Okay, here's a question. Is this proportional? Proportional. Is this proportional? And now I'm going to put a little proportion here. We're going to see if it is. And it's this. 3 over 4 and 6 over 12. Is that proportional? Okay, so how do we check that? We would simply use cross products. Remember that? And you would say, does, and then 3 times 12, does 3 times 12 equal 4 times 6? That's the question, does it? Because if it does, it's proportional. Now, you may have simple ones that you could just look at right away, like this one, but there's other ones that are very difficult. So 3 times 12, that's 36. 4 times 6, that's 24. And so our answer is no. No, it doesn't. It's not proportional. They're not equal. The cross products are not equal. This is a little test you can do to see if something is proportional, if you can't tell by looking at it. Okay, so we did proportional. We also did proportional. You can abbreviate if you want to. Proportional relationship. Proportional relationship. Relationship. Shep. Okay. And if you remember the graph of that, it looks like this. And let's say this is your x-axis, and this is the y-axis, right? And this is the origin. Remember that? That's 0, 0, the origin. And so if you have a line that is straight through the origin, right? That is a proportional relationship. That graph shows it's a proportional relationship. Okay, on number 6, we're going to make a table, and the table is going to be gallons and miles. Gallons and miles. The table goes sideways. We'll make it short. And so here are some numbers to put in there. Excuse me, let me make it a little larger for you so you can see better. Gallons and miles. And let's say we have 2 gallons for every 10 miles. And we'll just put these numbers in right here. Now the critical part to remember when putting these in, gallons, 2, 3, 4, miles, 10, 15, and 20, is that, remember, normally we have miles per gallon. So this would be our Y, and this would be the X. Okay, and here's the question. What is the, now I'm going to abbreviate, constant of proportionality? Okay, constant of proportionality. And if you remember, constant of proportionality is Y over X. It's Y over X. So let's figure that out. Now you can take any Y over X you want. So let's see here. So it's Y over X. I'll just take this first one right here. 10 over 2. Okay, that's the same thing as 5 over 1. That's 5 miles, 1 gallon. That is our constant of proportionality. And they may have read it differently in any test. It may just be 5 miles MPG. Have you ever seen that before? Miles per gallon. It may be that. But that's how you find constant of proportionality. It's simply Y over X. It's the unit rate. Okay, I wrote large, so I'm just going to use another piece of paper. Okay, the next topic we did was percentage. Remember, this is the whole semester. So here's a question on the percent. It is find 30% of $20. Find 30% of $20. Okay, now you may want to use your calculator. So how does that work out? Well, 30% is the same thing as 0.30. Remember, you move the decimal over 2 spaces. 0.30. Times of means times. Now I'm going to put a dot up here. See that, to represent times? 20. And that is your answer, whatever you get. 0.30 times 20. And if you use a calculator, you will find out the answer comes out to be $6. Okay, here's the next problem. Very similar to this. It's this. Here's the question. If you buy, now I'm going to say just blank. All right, I don't care. You could say it. If you buy blank for $20. If you buy something for $20, right? And then sell it for 30% profit. right? You buy something for $20, then you sell it for 30% profit. And the question is this: how much did you sell it for? How much did you sell it for? That's the question. You made 30% profit. It cost you $20. You made 30% profit, 30% more than 20. So how much was it that you sold it for? Well, let's see. We start off with $20, right? Then you're going to add 30% of $20, and that is how much you sell it for. So how much is that? Well, let's see. We have $20, and then this is $6. We did this before. This is $6. 30% of 20 is $6. 20 plus 6 is $26. That's how much you sold it for. You buy it for 20, sell it for 26. You made $6 off it. That's your profit. Okay, one more percent problem. And it's this. If the price change, let me zoom in there, sorry. This one has to do with price changing. Now I'm going to use as few words as possible. For price changed from $80 to $60. The price changed from $80 to $60. And here's a question. What is the percent decrease, right? Because it went down. It decreased it. How much? What percent? We know it went down $20, but what percent is that? So how do we figure that out? If you remember, the formula for that was, it's the difference over the starting number. The difference over the start. All right, so what does that mean? That's going to be, what, 80? I'll do it the long ways. You don't have to, but it's 80 minus 60 over the starting number. The starting number was 80. Okay, well, that's 20 over 80. Now, if you want to, you could just take a calculator at this point, or you could reduce it more. So if I do 20 divided by 80, it's 0.25. 0.25. But the question is not what decimal is it. It says, what is the percent? 0.25, it moved the decimal over 2 spaces. Let me just put that in here. So I'm going to move the decimal over 2 spaces, and the answer is 25%. Right? 0.25 is like a quarter of a dollar. That's 25% of a dollar, 25%. Okay, and that's percent change. That's hard to remember, by the way, for many students. Okay, our last topic is integers, or you could think of it as being negative numbers. That's when we're dealing with negative numbers. All right, so here we go. We have -4 minus -6. So you're thinking hot and cold. So when adding and subtracting, you're always thinking hot and cold. Hot and cold. But whenever we do multiply or divide, you just remember that two negative signs cancel. But that's only multiply and divide. Anything else, you're thinking hot and cold. Two signs are the same, you add them, and if they're different signs, you subtract. And sometimes you may see this double negative, that's a big plus. Okay, so let's see, that's -4, and this is like a big plus, right? Opposite of cold is hot. Take away cold, and it's going to be hot. Okay, now these are different. You have more positive. There's more positive. 6 take away 4 is 2. The answer is +2. Okay, this next one involves some parentheses here. So we have 2 plus 6 minus -4 minus 1. All right, well remember PEMDAS, we always take care of parentheses first. Okay, so that means that I'm going to take care of this. 2 plus 6, that's 8. And then this, I know you may want to go ahead and make this don't do that. You first have to take care of what's ever inside the parentheses. -4 and -1. Okay, if you want to, you could just sneak a little plus in there. -4 and -1. That's -5. All right, and so you have this minus this total. This total minus this total. Okay, well now I can see that this is a big plus right here, right? Subtracting cold makes it hot. So really this is 8 plus 5. That's not a good color to use, is it? That's 8 plus 5. And 8 plus 5 is 13. The answer is 13. This is tricky because you want to automatically take care. No, you have to do inside the parentheses first. Now I hit the bottom of my paper, so I'm kind of like, so I just kind of box this in. I just kind of go back up to the top. Okay, because that's tricky, I want to show you another one like it. So number 12, we have 3, the quantity 3 minus 4. Whatever this is, 3 minus 4 minus -5 plus 9. This quantity minus this quantity. Okay, well let's take care of one quantity at a time. Okay, so whatever this is, 3 minus 4, hopefully you can figure that out. Hopefully you know that 3 take away 4 is -1. And then this one, -5 and 9. That's like 9 minus 5. There's more hot. How many more hot is it? 4. This is 4. So we have -1 minus 4. That's the same thing as -1 and -4. It's the same thing. And so how much is -1 negative and 4 negatives? That would make 5 negatives. The answer is -5. Okay, here's our next one. It looks really long, like it's going to be a big number, but it's not. Number 13. Let's make sure you separate this. Okay, we have a -2 times a -1 times a 3 times -1. So let's see. Well, first we multiply, right? So you can do 2 at a time. 2 times 1 is 2. I'll do this way. 2 times 1 is 2. And 3 times 1 is 3. So 2 times 3, blue does not show up very good here, is 6. Okay, 2 times 1 is 2, times 3 is 6, times 1 is 6. All right, now, what about the negatives? Count the negatives. Because this is multiply, and in multiply and divide, we count the negatives. There's 1 negative, there's 2 negatives, and there's 3 negatives. Hey, 2 cancel, you still have 1 left over. The answer is negative 6. When multiply or divide, 2 negative signs cancel. We're not doing hot and cold. We just multiply or divide, count the negative signs. Let's try one more like that. And it's going to be 4 times negative 2 times negative 1 times 2. Okay, so we need to multiply the numbers first. So let's see, we have 4, I'll do these two. 4 times 2 is 8. And these two is 1 times 2 is 2. So 8 times 2 is 16. Right, that's 16. Question is it negative or positive? Well, let's count the negative signs. I have 1 negative sign and 2 negative signs. 2 negative signs. 2 negative signs cancel when multiplying or dividing. So the answer is just 16. Number 15 is negative 6 divided by negative 2. So we go ahead and divide. 6 divided by 2 is 3. I count the negative signs. 1 negative sign, 2 negative signs cancel. The answer is positive 3. Here's the last problem, number 16. Negative 1 times 2 times 3/5. Now, notice that these numbers right here, they're all on top. It's like a 1 on it. So really, you can just multiply the top and multiply the bottom and see what you got, because I can't reduce anything. So 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6. And on the bottom, 1 times 1 times 5. 6/5. And notice that there's 1 negative there. There's 1 negative sign, so the answer is negative 6/5. Now, you'll probably have to reduce it, or maybe a decimal. If we reduce this, 5 goes into 6 1 time, and there's 1 left over. And the answer is negative because there's the negative. Now, if you were to do this in a calculator, 6 divided by 5, 6 divided by 5, you see that it's 1.2. So actually, this answer could also be written as negative 1.2. So can you see it can be either one of those answers? Actually, it could be any one of these 3 answers. They're all the same. All 3 of these answers are the same.